Good morning. Today is November the 6th, 2025. It is about 10:27 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For the record, this is Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, Yahweh, Adonai, Hashem. He who comes from heaven is here. So, as I said, yesterday's video did not work out. I was a little ticked off. As I've said, I leave elections to the people. That is what you guys are for. Not just for electing people, but that is the way of human society, human civilization. You guys elect officials, supposed to elect officials, not actually based on your personal profile, right? You're actually supposed to elect officials of what is the best representative of the lands in which you've settled or live, and those that are organic, right? So hundreds of generations of mixed legal immigrants into America in the 1700s, the 1800s, or 1900s, even today. Because America was built, the Irish immigrated over legally. Ellis Island was the first stop into the Americas, in which case you were to pass writing tests, you were to pass history tests. There were certain things that an individual did, and then you swore an oath to the country. And of course, if you were not following the one true Elohim, the Yahweh, then America does allow for that liberty of religious freedom. And as long as it doesn't impede upon the institutions that were set down and guided by me, Elohim, then I don't necessarily have an issue with it, right? If a person seeks spiritual wisdom through the Buddha, that's fine. We've spoke about that. It's an idol. It is a lucky charm. It has no tethering to me, in which case that individual, when they perish, they would not ascend into the heavens because they're not in a purpose for me. They weren't bad, so they don't go to hell, but they would be put to rest. And essentially, that's what we call upstairs a recycle or a retread. So those types of people, they would then be put back down. So they could perish in 2025 only to be reborn thousands of years later in a new reality or a new earth, and they may be born in the Stone Age again, and they don't have any memory of who they were before or what they've done before, but they still have a sense of personal identity, right? So these things would come out, and if let's say the person, I don't have any off the top of my head, but my point is, that individual would just be a retread, right? They would be plopped back down upon the creation, and really, until they discover the word that I've put down on earth, until they've found one of my many messiahs to build their faith in me, their Elohim, then they would be on the track to not having to repeat the same program, but then they would be elevated to one that would better suit their existence. So, elections where the minority and the minority problems are pulling the strings to control the masses, that is a massive issue. That is a massive issue. Because these million people do not represent I don't even know how many people. New York used to be a lot fuller. I should have had that already, but around 8.48 million. So there's over 1.48 more million people that are in New York City alone than there is in Israel. Israel's got a population of roughly 7 million. So 1 million people came out to vote for Mamdani. but that still leaves 7.48 million, a whole entire nation, population-wise, that chose not to. So really, the fall, the blame, goes upon the shoulders of every New Yorker. Because as an individual, as a human being in a modern civilization, you are charged, not only by me, your Elohim, but you are charged by the leaders in which you've already elected, to carry on that tradition. You know, the civic duty of a man or a woman is very much a part of stabilizing society. So it definitely does not please me to see people that bow out of elections. I, as Elohim, do not vote. But it is up to the human populations, right? You guys are the ones that are supposed to be pre-screening these people. You're supposed to be going through your many millions of people, putting them through their own gauntlets, their own tests, their own purification. And hopefully at the other end of that, you have a refined person who is well-versed in the political arena in which they're going to be practicing. And they have a good head on their shoulders. They're balanced. And they have an ear to the people. But understand, just because someone has an ear to the people does not mean that their job is to bow to the people. This is, again, a modern screw-up of human civilizations. Some of the greatest American presidents in history were hated for their stances on issues and the changes in which they made. But they were not changes that went against the Constitution. They were not changes that went against the American priority, because American nationalism is just as important as Israeli nationalism. And the two can exist harmoniously because they're intended to be brothers. Okay? So, where the Gentiles walk, right, or the Christian walk, starts with Yeshua, and throughout that journey, you should be learning about Abraham, you should be learning about Isaac, you should be learning about Jacob, you should be learning about Ezekiel, Isaiah, you should be learning about the main patriarchs of the entire scripture. And even with a fantastical tale as the New Testament, even if you were to just take it and look at it and through the perspective that Yeshua, right, was a leader for Christians, Gentiles, otherwise those that are non-Jewish or non-Israelites, to come into the faith saying, hey, our Heavenly Father is the actual creator of all things. And He desires to have a human family that He can not only take care of, not only give provision, but also wise instruction. And with those things come the traditional God source powers that rest within me, Yahweh Elohim, which is to ensure that other nations stay at bay. Instead of a nation willy-nilly going and attacking, let's say Russia willy-nilly going and attacking Ukraine, if Ukraine was under my provision and has declared me their sovereign, then and when I say we, a lot of times that is speaking, I am the 90% above and I am the 10% below. I am not one or the other, I am both. I am fully Elohim, fully Yahweh Elohim. So, it is grammatically appropriate to actually use the term we. But, that being said, a Russia scenario would not have unfolded that way. And the brick and mortar usage of rockets and weaponry would also not even be the biggest deterrent for someone to mess with a country. Whereas I am more lethal than any bomb, than any weapon. I'm more lethal than 1 trillion atomic bombs. Because my arsenal does not stop at human hands. My arsenal does not stop at the ideas or the whims or the thoughts and ideas of humankind. My thoughts are not your thoughts. My ways are not your ways. They are truly higher because I am in existence. I am the beginning of all things and I am the ender of all things, but to just start anew. So, moving on, I'm disappointed in New York. these are my notes from yesterday, so they're a little dated, but I'll try to cover it so we can move on to other topics. But New York, you woke up with the clap, meaning that you were in hot pursuit of falsity, right? It's like that poor, wicked soul, the sojourner, finding himself in a whorehouse in a foreign land, right? He's listening to everything the whore is telling him for truth, when if he had a half a brain, he knows that this whore is being paid to do the services in which he wants. If New York would have been righteous, then this guy would have never have even received 30 seconds of television time. But your media is also to blame for this, because they found the story. They were giving Mamdani free TV time. Guys, as you all know, humans, you all know this. Even bad press is better than no press. You guys blew his story out of the water because it was a shock, right? A jihadist supporter, a practicing Muslim, the very roots of which started 9/11, flying 2 planes into 2 trade towers, which wounded America, but then America rose up from the ashes, ready and willing to combat evil at any cost, triggering the Middle Eastern wars in Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan. And if I, as Elohim, would have went back on September 11th, 2001, and when that fire chief stood in front of the cameras for the first time, debriefing the nation, his face was covered with white ash, and he's briefing people on what's happening. If I, as Elohim, would have went there and stood next to that man and said, America, in 25 years, you are going to elect one of these people who just did this, not only into American government, but into the New York mayor position to run you. If I would have done that 25 years ago, the backlash, the absolute incomprehensible anger from the American people would have called me a crazy Elohim. They would have been up in arms. But the very generation that in 2001 were just kids, this generation grew up to be easily and superficially led into all types of wicked schemes. And instead of combating evil for what it is, instead of calling it out, preventing it from settling in your land, you voted for it. Because humans, again, you do not understand what true love is, because if you did, then you would know that the love for your brothers, your sisters, the love for your American family is far more important than foreigners. The traditions of your American nation are far more important than the appeasement of cheap rent that ain't gonna happen, free food that ain't gonna happen. That's what I mean. You guys are debased. You are generationally stupid. And I, as Elohim, I have nothing to do with you. I can't give a purpose to a stupid person. I can't go and let my spirit descend upon anybody or any congregation that is not only stubborn, that is not only unwilling. They think they're right, and that's all they care about, because it's a reinforcement of their ego. So quite literally, when you guys elected Mamdani, you were not only dumb, you put insanity and mob rule over piousness. And at the deepest level, it literally looks like you guys are either begging for suicide by Elohim, or you genuinely already turned wicked and evil and you just don't know it. Right? Because at the minimum, being an American, being a Christian American, your number one ally are the Jews and the Israelites. At the bare minimum, a pious Christian in a Christian nation, which I hate to break it to you, America is, was, and should be a Christian nation. When I say Christian nation, that means you are all supposed to follow the Messiah I gave you in that time, who is not returning, but his name is Yeshua, and he teaches you what pleases me, God the Father, Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah. That is a good thing to do. That would be like one of the sons seeing people coming over a hill, and the son goes, Father, I'm going to run out and greet them. I'm going to tell them the rules of the land. I'm going to tell them about you. I'm going to tell them the things that you do like, the things that you don't like, and then I'm going to tell them those things they absolutely can't do, but then the things in which you're going to do for them as long as they comply with those rules. So that good son would run out to the hill. He would meet those people. That's how Yeshua is when it comes to Christians, right? You're following him. You're following his example. And his example isn't superficial. It isn't the Charlie Kirks of the world. It surely isn't the Erica Kirks of the world. Those are superficial, debased human beings that love the spotlight. They love wicked little tears coming out of human sheep eyes because it benefits them. It profits their little whatevers, right? They're non-profits. Guys, as Yahweh Elohim, I tell you, these are not savory to me. They're not. You guys are showmen. You're playing upon the fear of people, and you are extorting my sheep. You are leading them astray. They're looking at Erica Kirks of the world instead of looking to their Elohim. How are you going to be so rotten as an individual, rotten as a people, rotten as a so-called church, leading everyone astray from the actual point in which it was? It's insanity. Iran, your 1979 anniversary was yesterday. It can and will all end in disaster for you. I truly care not. It is only a matter of time until my curses catch up with you, because you are a stain upon the world, and you chant death to America and death to Israel, and you think that you are immune to my hand. If I need to go do showdowns with your little demon gods, I have no problem doing that. My spirit can encompass the entire cosmic plex. I think I'd be able to handle, what are you, Iran? You're somewhere to the tune of 636,372 square miles. Meanwhile, there's plenty of land for your little Baal and Ashtarte and your little devil worshippers to go and settle near you. I, as Yahweh Elohim, did not make any covenants with Muslims, so get out of my land. America and Israel are to be sovereign under me, Yahweh Elohim Yahuwah, indefinitely. That is the plan. That is the way. All other nations will have the opportunity to come into the fold, into the family, by obeying those commandments, making a memorial to my name, and pretty basic things. Be righteous. The government shutdown, this is solely and squarely with the Democrats. And the fact is, Democrats, you guys are obstructing the opening of the government because you are politically motivated. So you're literally saying, I don't give a shit about the American people. I care about illegal immigrants. I care about wasteful spending on over-bloated healthcare that honestly needs a true reform. Insurance in all capacities not only need a reform, but they need to be cleaned up. Like, it's insane. You guys have gotten yourselves so bloated that everything is expensive when nothing should be expensive. As Elohim, I have provided the air you breathe, the water you drink, the sun that warms you, the night that cools you. I've given you the ability to plant and to garden millions of pounds of food way more food than could feed everybody on the earth. You guys could feed 3 times the amount of people that the earth population currently has with the amount of seeds and provision that's been given. So it is an absolute no start when people use political power. They withhold this, they withhold that for their own games. It's wicked. It's wicked. You know, because frankly, all the illegal immigrants in America and in Israel and in Africa, all the Muslim people in Africa and Israel and America, they need to go and settle into the lands in Tehran. They need to go settle into the lands of Arabia. Frankly, you got Iran, Arabia, Lebanon. Because as the father of all, I literally look at this from 3 million feet above, and I look down upon all of you and I go, I want everybody to go back to their damn rooms. I'm tired of Muslims coming to America selling this jihad shit, and I have to deal with Christians and get them on the right track. Then you're adding layers of bullshit to the already work I have to do. And frankly, none of my churches really seem interested in doing any of the work in which I tell you. But yet on Saturday and on Sunday, everyone is so about working my will and loving me and, oh, praise the Almighty. You guys just want a fucking smoke show. It's irritating. More than irritating. I need your asses to get to work and start getting these people out of the land. They need to go home. Mexicans, go home. Venezuelans, go home. Colombians, go home. If you are not an American with an American passport or identification, go home. Get out of Israel. Africa's sitting on a curse, a bad one, because the Islamic conquest that came through in the 7th century BCE. And how is Muslims going over there helping their curse? It's not. How are Christians peddling idolatry? If a Christian is in Africa peddling idolatry, you are strengthening the curse of an entire continent to a people that I, as Yahweh Elohim, I set them apart. I set an entire continent apart. And the people that inhabit the land of Egypt today are not the people that have inhabited the land of Egypt the time of the great Pharaoh. Their god was Amun-Ra, and his third time reborn wife Isis. I've had trouble in the past with Amun-Ra and his wife Isis, but with our growing human pains upon the earth, I have found myself now in more of alliance with Amun-Ra than we've ever been. You know, as they say, you know, keep your friends close but your enemies closer kind of thing. Well, I don't consider me and Amun-Ra really enemies anymore, because he's just as irritated at what's happening than I am. Like, really. And so instead of even Egypt worshiping Amun-Ra, which, if that be the case, fine. Don't imprison my Hebrews, and don't go round up my Africans around the nation to go help you build fucking pyramids. Like, that's my qualm with Amun-Ra, right? Other than that, if we're talking about any other Elohim besides myself, all I'm saying is, so now Egypt is ran by the Muslims. They're settling near Israel and wanting to kill my Jews. This is a massive Muslim issue, and the world is still like, go Palestine, go Muslims. So you're wanting to extinct yourselves through breeding with the children of the fallen angels, the children that were put here by Hasatan to counter my efforts. And the world is letting it happen because you guys say, well, they're the majority. We need to make sure that we're being good. We don't want to look bad. We want to make sure we look like Erica Kirk. We want to make sure that we can get the tears going for the people. You guys make me sick. You make me sick and you make me wrathful. Everything that comes out of your mouths stoke the embers of my heart and in my mind. Clearly, you do not see those things in which you do to me, your Elohim. Because if you did, you should be paralyzed with fear first. But you're not. You're starstruck by other human beings who will die, who will perish, who will be in my hand next to the scales for judgment. That's a fact. So truly, everyone needs to go home. Then I, as the Father, need to work in America and say, okay, is everybody in the home now? Is everybody settled down? Now, kids, this is the first provision. This is the second provision. This is the third and the fourth and the fifth. But I can't do that when I have Christians sympathizing with the Muslims. Then now we're electing jihadists into the same place that they've already wounded just 25 years ago. And you guys only live for 100-ish years. I know to you that's a long time. To me, I have fruit still on my table at home in heaven that is past 100 years old and it's still edible. You guys are like the bee that dies every 21 days. So the fact is, I have to get ahead of the curve to start curbing human behavior, human response to me. And if I don't make progress, I will destroy the entire earth plane. That is not a joke. That is not a threat. That is a matter of fact. Alright, we'll take our first 5 and then we will come back. Alright, we're back. Don't you do this shit. Alright, I'm back. So, as always, it's nice to do a quick debrief with the Queen Consort because, you know, I get to kind of take the rubber bands off a little bit and, you know, do some mental sparring with her. But, you know, I was just talking to her about, well, obviously I'm telling you guys, you know, is the way things are, sometimes I come off as cold and unempathetic to the human needs and wants. Understand that I quite literally, as Elohim, I love my humans. I cherish my humans when they are being good, right? Much like my dogs. My dogs are good. They get their treats. They get their provisions. They get their love, attention. They get everything imaginable. And when that stops, I spoil them, right? Love my dogs. Spoil them. They can get on the couch. I don't care. But likewise, if the dog goes to the bathroom in the house, what are the chances of the dog being able to clean up its own feces and its own urine? There is zero chance of that dog being able to do that because the dog is not equipped to do that. It doesn't even have the physical attributes that would lend itself to do that. It is up to me, the dog owner, the homeowner, to get down there, pick up the poop, spray the stuff, give it wiped, get the pee up, then go behind it with a mop full of cleaning solution and antibacterial and make sure that there is no trace, there is no remnant of the bacteria that comes from feces. The smell that comes with it, right? It's unclean. I don't think I have to go into that a whole lot with humans. Hopefully you should know better. But maybe not. We were driving to take my daughter to her Bible group last night, or to meet her aunt to take her to Bible group, and I'll be damned, you know, this little human was on a leash The mom was behind it, and son of a bitch, if the little human still didn't run out in the middle of the damn road. You guys are wild, man. You know, and Asherah's like, well, you know, he's on a leash, like he was just being a kid. I'm like, no, I get it. He's just being a little wild human. But what's the excuse for the 40-something-year-old that got hit by a car? Why is he wandering out in the road? He needs a leash too. The point is that humanity, in the absence of your regional deities, keeping you on leashes, A, or B, giving you proper provisions and proper teachings and proper understandings generation to generation. Because they failed at their jobs. I, as the big God, as the supreme creator, as the big dog, am forced to come down here to my own creation and mitigate the fallout of my own wrath. Because I cherish this creation and everything on it. But disobedient humans who are shitting in the house and calling it good, the Erica Kirks of the world, the jihadists going around taking dumps in my house, committing sin, debauchery, superficial love, false praise, false worship, idolatry, demon worship. Like, all these things is an equivalent of the dog taking a big nasty dump in the house just because they could. If you had good regional deities that were governing the Caribbean as they should, then they would not be coming to America. All the kids would have their own room as was provisioned by me, Elohim. And yet, you basically just did the Tower of Babel thing. Humans said, we're gonna band together. Well, do you know what happens when humans band together? You innately begin to worship each other, which happens through television programs, it happens through music. Once you find the human of your choice, you all worship them subconsciously and you don't realize it. I, as Elohim, go into your mind. I see it all day long. And most of my job on earth is keeping myself calm so I do not just have humans explode upon sight. But it's difficult. Because as the creator of all things, I see things a certain way. I see success on one hand and I see failure on the other. So whenever you're calling me harsh or you're calling me cold, it is because you do not like it when I walk into the room and I point at the pile of shit and I start looking at what dog did it. That's the situation I'm in right now with all of my humans on Earth. Because you guys have made a mess out of your technology. You've made a mess out of your infrastructure. You've made a mess out of social services. You made a mess out of international affairs. You have absolutely, unequivocally done virtually nothing right. And it is only I, Yahweh Elohim, who is going to be able to fix it for you. But if every time I go to pick up a pile of shit, there's 10 more piles of shit, at some point, I'm just going to put the cleaning spray back under the sink. And I'm going to douse the whole fucking place with gasoline and light it on fire. Because at that point, there is no longer... I hate to say this, but newsflash, Earth. Your existence was my pleasure. Your existence was my pleasure. You are no longer a pleasure. You are bigger than an inconvenience. Now you are becoming an annoyance. And I'm genuinely trying to clean up the poop, put down food in everybody's room, and we will go from there. These are promises that go both ways. Promises of success that comes with obedience, understanding, trust, and knowing who I am. The other side is consequence. Humans are a hive mind and you are a collective. You all collectively shit in the house and you have collectively bit he who feeds you, provisions for you, and you are all expecting to continue on the same way in which you have been. It's not possible. The conditions that the Earth domain is under due to the infestation of wicked and evil humans who have been led astray by other wicked and superficial humans due to the absence of regional deities who actually at one point did give a shit when you guys were easy to manage. But then as you guys grew up and got harder and more complicated, they didn't feel the need to come up to me to say, okay, Father, my humans are a little bit more advanced now. I need some higher lessons in how I'm supposed to manage them. The sub-gods failed at that. And guess what? You all have been sitting in a pool of shit, making brick houses out of it. Oh, trying not to get pissed to ruin the videos. So, oh, here's my little yellow belly bird. I got little yellow belly finches. They've been hanging out. Which is another thing. Speaking of rats, I have nasty neighbors. So apparently we've had rat infestation. They had the pest control people over, and I guess they ran the rats out of the house. Well, then the rats went out to the back field yard fence thing. So my wonderful bird feeder that my yellow belly finch here is wanting to know, Father, where's my seed? So you see now I'm having to tell my bird that, well, bird, because of these rats that are not in their locations that they're supposed to be in, now I can't put out the feed for my finches. I can't put out the feed for my birds because the rats not only climb up the little bird feeder pole, but then they chew the plastic, they eat all the feed, and they're spreading disease and germs in the yard in which my cherished dogs go in. Everything is layers, and the experienced reality in which all of you experience is tied in. Everything is tied in one to the other. Believe it or not, I have more birds that will come to my window and listen to my voice because they know I'm their maker. They know I'm their heavenly Father. They have trust. They know that I'm the only thing that they find equity in. Human beings are not like that. Human beings are not like that. Human beings walk into a room with fresh piles of crap, and they're like, oh, who took a big dump? Oh, it's Erica Kirk on stage. She's crying. Oh, we're all going to take dumps too. And we're going to walk around our dumps, and we're going to go, look how good it is. Our Father who art in heaven, he must be proud. No, you don't see the Father who just walked in the room with a roll of paper towels and a spray bottle who is not happy. So Democrats, Democrats, you're pathetic. You need to wake up and smell the roses before you don't exist. I am not partial to any governmental party. But I can tell you that as Elohim, when me and PT were on better terms, the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, was not just PT's conception. That was assisted by me, Elohim. I know what is in the bill. I know where it hurts you. I also know the provisions in which I am going to give you. And if we were to take out the foreign vote, the sojourners, and get them off of my land in America and out of my land in Israel, and the Christians and the Muslims both out of Africa, out of Israel, out of America, that's not their home, that's not their place, and this ain't the Tower of fucking Babel. So, worry about homegrown Americans. What does John the grocer with 2 kids and a wife on disability, what does he need? What does John the grocer need? What does Becky, the 4th grade teacher, what does she need? What does Pat, the truck driver, right, who's not home for 3 weeks at a time, and then the 1 week he is home, the man doesn't even have enough money to take his 2 kids out to dinner with his lovely wife. Those are the things that break my heart. You want to know what doesn't break your Elohim's heart? People who have abandoned their post in their country and said, it's broken. I'm going to go and find some other house to break into and extort their resources and extort their food pantry. It has nothing to do with nationality. It has nothing to do with your ethnic race. I'm your Elohim. I made the human race. And I made you distinct one from another, and I made you lands distinct one from another, and I gave you provision different one from another. Because you were intended to trade, and you were intended to venture, meaning temporarily go and visit China and then come back to your homeland. And vice versa. But I look down upon that person who says, I was born in a time where my country's not very profitable. My country's dealing with crime. I'm gonna run away. At what point in the written word, or at what point and in what world have I as Elohim ever told people to run away? I said, if you have woken up from the wicked and evil that is happening upon the planet in every corner, in every way, in everything, then you need to go back home and you need to say, guys, if you're Mexican, Mexico's our home. We used to be a beautiful people. Our Elohim left us. Teotihuacan left you. Pakal left you. I don't have bad blood with neither of them, but they're not coming back down here. They have been too far removed from the human program to honestly make a difference. It would just be one more headache for me to deal with. You see what I mean? I would rather my humans go back to where you come from and then start making a stand against anything that goes against those commandments. If you need a very basic scenario, let's say Mexico picks up the 10 commandments, lets the entire nation know in one day, here's an email, we're going to send it in the mail, we're going to do an automated phone call. Hell, you guys have spammed me and my wife random shit for years. It's impious. The next company spammer, the next time you want to do that, I'm going to have a nice surprise for you. You're going to end up dead on the other side of it, so keep playing with us. I'm not fucking around. Because you guys look at money as the end-all be-all. You look to yourselves and numbers as the end-all be-all. The human being forgot in the ancient way that one man and a good Elohim can accomplish much. Where there are 2 or more righteous men speaking, learning, and following their Elohim, they can conquer an entire city. Joshua and Caleb was a good example. Right? You never look at the giants in the land and go, I'm going to cower and stay back here. There were ones that did that, and they were the ones that died. They were the dogs that took a nap next to their pile of poop. Right? So if I can get all the kids to go back to their room, then I can sit down with each nation and level with them and say, okay, America, this is your plan. This is how we're going to make right. This is how we're going to not only build you up, This is how we're going to make life good for the top and the bottom. The top won't have to suffer from the bottom, but neither will the bottom have to consistently and continuously chase the top. There are things in life and in reality which require motion, and those things that do not. My word is eternal. The Tanakh, the Torah, is older than this world. That Tanakh and that Torah, in one version or another, has always been handed down. And what that is it's a collection of me as Elohim chastising a people, disciplining a people, pulling a people through time, and keeping them unchanged. The Jews have added some tradition, have added some things, but for the most part, all in part, and ancient Israelites have kept the old ways intact enough that you can see, even in today's era, that out of an entire house of many rooms, many nations, there is still one bedroom that doesn't have poop in it. Or even if it does, it's at least recognized, it's known, and the dog has his head bowed and his tail between his legs because he knew he did wrong. That's okay. Let me as the father come in there. I'll pat the dog on the head. Let him go outside. I'll clean that room. I'll disinfect that room. And then from now on, I'll keep a better eye on that dog to make sure that he gets ample potty breaks, right? We'll put in place something that gives the dog not only a fighting chance, but every opportunity to make sure that he doesn't have an accident. You see? That is different than me walking into a home. None of these dogs know me because these other dogs have sold them that I'm a dog. I'm not coming with the tail and floppy ears, and I'm not pooping on the rug. And they don't like that. Humans don't like that. So America, stop with your superficial bullshit. If somebody in even the name of Yeshua forbids you in my name, but are trying to get on stage and get support and empathy from other humans because of your tragedy, instead you should be looking torn up saying, fear God. Put down idolatry. Please ask your Elohim for forgiveness upon Charlie Kirk's soul. Please beg your Elohim to give him relief. But you're not doing that. You're false witnessing about the dog shit. Stupid people. And believe it or not, yesterday's video was much worse. You know, my last thoughts on the government shutdown. It's not all Democrats. There are some sane Democrats out there that are appalled at their own party, but due to their loyalty to their party, which is another thing. Human beings, you should have a loyalist type of mentality to your nation state. The protection of America's soil, the protection of the American resources, likewise, the protection of African resources and the sovereignty of Africa, the sovereignty of Israel. And Israel, guess why you do not have many natural provisions? Because I, as your Elohim, am supposed to be the center of the world. All nations would come to offer up their incense, to offer up their silks, to offer up their sheepskins, to offer up their most perfect bulls, their spotless eggs, like all these things are to be brought to my kingdom, because that is the provision I, as the creator of the world, desire. Things from the coast and the inlands of China, from the norths of Russia and the mountains of Tibet, and in the deserts of America, and from the provisions given into the New England side of America, the fruits from South America, all these things I as Elohim have grown on my earth. And I want to be at home to receive all of these things. And in exchange, I give a blessing to those people so they go back to their lands. And when they see the blessing of Yahweh Elohim, who is I, they will quickly crush their idols. They will tear down their own false god statues and statues of demons. They will remove the idols from their pockets and from their necks. They will say, we don't need this anymore. We have the one true Elohim, the one true God with us now. And we're gonna take advantage of that in a pious way. We're gonna rebuild Mexico and make it beautiful. We're gonna kick out Maduro and rebuild Venezuela. We're gonna rebuild Colombia. Russia needs to figure out if it's conquering Ukraine, then do it already. If you're not, then I'm about to conquer you. I'm done with it. I do not like war. Because guess what? I am the best at war. I am the rule of war. So, I do not want to go down that route. Because humans, something really bad happens, you guys may never get over it. I do not want to traumatize an entire population of Earth. It doesn't do me any good. Me and the wife were watching a show last night called Amazing Race. And I think it's a wonderful show because it displays so many other nations, right? When you're looking at last night's episode was Croatia, right? These people are doing their thing. They're doing the Croatia thing, right? Or if they're in like whatever, saying they're happy about who they are. They're happy about being Swiss or whatever, the yodeling people. I'm saying those people are not breaking into America. How many problems do we have with Swiss people, right? The Switzerland doesn't have a perfect society, but you know what? They're not doing too bad. Their people like to stay there. In fact, people are migrating there naturally, right? It's a nice place. They say, hey, you know, I want to fill out the paperwork. I want to have a citizenship here. I'm agreeing to be a good guy, good girl. I want to come and make this or that, whatever your reason is. What I'm saying is you do it the right way. But when we have the belly of America ripped open and every unsavory country is breaking in our house to get from our food storages, and the Democrats and the Pope, who is not mine, who is not my person, that is not my religion, that is not my church, that is quite literally the defilement of the human world. That is the dog shit leader of the bedroom. My wrath burns against you. Know that. Because again, if they were understood of me, if they truly knew my word, and if you've taken the Old Testament and if you've scrubbed that against, now you're seeing me in the flesh, you're hearing my actual voice, you're seeing through the eyes of your own maker. Again, that should start with fear. Second, that should start with obedience. Third, that starts your learning. That starts your understanding. If you lead anything more than a ham sandwich, hopefully not ham, maybe a turkey sandwich, but if you are leading your kids, a spouse, even yourself, then you need to be seeing the big picture. See what's possible when all the nations are blessed by me, Elohim, and they are all doing good in their own right. There's no wars. There's no murder. There's no starvation. There's no competition. It is a sharing abundant resources with one another for the sake of exploration, for the sake of doing something together. Guys, I'm creating things that I want you to go and visit. Why would I work so hard on a human population for millions of years from beginning to end to just destroy you? That doesn't make any sense on my end. But what it does do is it just hits more and more to home that if I truly don't have humanity's cooperation, nobody sees what I say, nobody adheres to what I say, and nobody virtually can see my dream of having a human family. The earth is a vehicle in which I can plant resources at will. And the galaxy, the universe, is a giant garden for me to do the same thing. You know? But I'll be damned if we're ever going to do something like that. Only for the micro situations of nations breaking into nations. Democrats think that we need to be propagating and supporting refugees. Guys, your problems are never going to absolve themselves by themselves. You as a human being are never going to be able to do that on your own. Not through your governments, not through war, not through provision, not through good or through bad means. It's impossible. You can't do it. That requires an Elohim, me, to do it. But if I'm ever going to get the house clean, build some additions on it, introduce other house members, I can't do that with dog crap on the floor. You embarrass me. The humans of the world today embarrass me. And the hateful eight, Democrats, you know who you are. So really, when I say the Democrats, there are 8 Democrats. You guys know who it is. Schumer, right? Cortez, Ilya Omar. Yeah, they're the hateful eight. They're the seed of demons. You want to see a real life demon? Turn on CNN. They show them all the time. Because they do not have piety in their mind. They sell piles of dog shit, call it good, and then they want to fight with me, the homeowner, about cleaning up that dog shit. And that's just on one level. Because the next level is saying, now all these foreigners are finally back home. Right? Then I introduce myself to Latin America and say, here's what happened. Here's what you're doing wrong. Here's your solution and here's who I am. This is your one and final offer. Take it or leave it. If they spit on me and say, go to hell, I will gracefully bow out, and then I will light the entire country on fire in one moment, and everything there will die. Then I will use that as a witness and a proof to say, okay, this country, honestly, Turkey, you really come to mind. I really don't like your leader. I've said this, and he stinks. I almost don't like him as much as Khomeini, but I do think Khomeini takes the cake. You know? That ends, again, this ending is one way. It's a one-way street. I'd like to do it piously. I'd like to do it where everything I've shown you for 3.5 years in a micro scale, the fires in Hawaii, fires in California, the floods down south, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, the volcanoes, the freak accidents, the plane crashes, the sicknesses, the ailments, the new creations that I've made while I've been out talking to you people every day. So my point is, I've proven to you what I do, what I can do, and I've given you a small sample. We're coming upon that time now where it's not going to be small samples. It's going to be the full delivery of those things in which I have warned you. I have shown you the truth. I have shown you the actual powers in which I wield. As a human being, you can look at me and you can choose to look at your shit instead and say, nope, I'm good. I'm going to keep doing what I want to do. I'm going to keep fighting for illegals because I think it's what my heart tells me to do. Your heart was defiled by the fallen angels long ago. You can't trust your heart. You can only trust one, and that is but Elohim. That is who I am. In heaven and on earth. The 90% in heaven is me. The 10% down here. I'm just travel size. But that does not mean that I don't have full access to every and all thing I need to do. I am he who makes exists. Period. Yod He Vav He. Yahuwah, Yahweh, Adonai, Hashem, Yahweh. Back in the African tribes, it was Yui. But despite my name, you know who I am. And if you don't, you should. So Muslim people, why are you even trying to settle in my land? If you worship Baal, go to Iran and worship Baal. If you don't like Iran, go to Lebanon. If you don't like Lebanon, go to Saudi Arabia, go to Qatar, go to Jordan. I don't give a shit. Because that, again, does not make sense. If the international community can't understand that, I mean, it's quite clear. I, as the one true Elohim, provisioned that land for me. Forget a people for a minute. That's mine. I'm here trying to help everybody. If I can't help you because you don't allow me, then what's my next option? I'm going to destroy the entire planet. So at what point did it benefit you to be standoffish to me? I'll say it again slower. At what point is being standoffish to me, Yahweh Elohim, beneficial to mankind? Because if you do that, you as an individual will die. And I will put you eternally into the abyss. I don't care. Versus if you cooperate with me, then you get to be a witness of all the wondrous things in which only I can do. The world is awaiting a Messiah. I haven't received any packets of Messiahs. I told you, send me 70 profiles of Mashiach. Or send me 10 from each tribe. Should be 120. Send me profiles. Submit yourself as a profile. I have absolutely I've already went through the list of the things in which I'm looking for. But I'm saying, like, you know, if you need the Messiah, that's fine. But at the end of the day, I, as your Elohim, giving you messages every day on camera, should be more than enough to get you people started. More than enough. So, alright, I'll take my second break here. I don't even know how long it's been. Alright, we're back. So, a couple of things. Alright. Because truly, guys, if I can get everybody to go back home, then I will be able to go independently to each nation and provide my offer. And then if they don't comply, then I can surgically handle that area and territory. Because I inevitably need to go to every people group, every nation. And I would prefer to do this through a Mashiach, because I, as Yahweh Elohim, honestly am not going to be traveling around the world like that. That is a Mashiach's job. I'm ancient. I'm older than the sun, older than the earth. I know that's kind of a shock to you because I'm in human form, but that is the truth. That is the truth. So truly, if anybody wants a Mashiach, I really do. I would love to have my right hand to be able to say, now it's your job to get in front of them. And it is at that point, he's the first line of defense or offense, because he's going to go to the nations and say, this is what my Elohim is saying to Hungary, to Turkey, to Saudi Arabia, to Russia, to China, to Japan, to Taiwan, to Australia, to England, France, to everywhere. And this negotiating with me, this compromising with me does not fly. I love Moshe. I loved Moshe back then. He had the courage and the heart more than anybody at the time. You know, as I said, Noah was righteous for his time. Moses, I wouldn't even say so far as righteous as willing. Moses and PT are so similar that they have the willingness, but so long as the willingness aligns with what they are already going to do or want to do, the willingness starts to hamper down quite a bit when it's going off a path that in their human mind thinks is the right way versus what I've said. Moshe, strike the rock. That's stupid. No, strike it. Strike the rock. And you can read about the rest of that. Point is, I don't compromise. If I am in a moment of spitballing or having conversation because I'm running my belt, right? I love this movie. What's the movie? Not Element. What is it? Alright, well, I think she's on a meeting. But I don't remember the movie. But it's the emotion movie, right? Where all the little emotions are upstairs and then they're operating the human body, right? And they have this part of the movie that has like a little choo-choo train and they call it the thought track. I think that's brilliant. Oh, there's a duck. I totally lost my thought track. Oh, yeah. So kind of, and if you want to look at it in an animated way, like that's my train. I want everybody to get on board with my thought track. For example, Christians. It's been 3.5 years now, almost 4 years. Why are we still doing services in the name of Jesus? If I were to have laid down the judgments like I said I would, and I still will, and I said, all the idolatry, you're going to die, you're going to perish, and then you're going to be split between hell or the abyss. If I would have done that, I would have been disappointed in myself because then I've lost so many good dogs because their leaders are stubborn against me. Do you want to be at minimum a Moses or do you want to be Pharaoh? So, going back to PT and Moses, right? This is very similar. Moses was really good when it came to doing things as long as it was in his kind of plans. But if I told him to deviate, he was hard to deviate. Christian church leaders, you are the #1 guilty party in this. I say this to Christian churches, and Christian churches then go to your back rooms and go, well, we're never going to give up Jesus. We wouldn't have anybody here on Sunday, Pastor. And Pastor, then you wouldn't be making $120,000 a year, and then your secretary wouldn't be making $46,000, and then your co-pastor wouldn't be making $75,000. I know what all you people fucking make. I'm the Lord God Almighty Yahweh Elohim. Trust me. So, the fact is, Christians, you should have been phasing this Easter out in place of a feast. You can still have Christmas, I told you. Me and my Asherah have been holding palm decorations, or we used to call it like the 70 holy days. So basically for about 70 days, which is why she decorates November 1st all the way to January. Point is, it's supposed to be a time of contributing to not only the less fortunate, but it's a time for your gathering in family, you're strengthening community, you're doing things. And in translation into modern times, right, is Christian churches should be holding food drives to give to the less fortunate. We should be doing service work, getting out there and building and getting out there and helping our veterans. We should be helping our teachers. We should be helping any person who's a part of our group, who's a part of the family. We should have church leaders keeping an eye out in the flocks when a flock is coming in to hear my word. Old Testament is my word. If you want to use witnesses of Yeshua, that is a good time for Bible study. Instead of branching out into New Testament Bible study, you need to be going into Bible study of Old Testament. Instead of having Easter, you should be having a feast, right? Instead of leaning into the Santa Claus, pagan thing, why don't you do Hanukkah? Why don't you just look at Christmas as a general time of giving and contributing, family, communion, a time where your focus isn't on the plowing, right? The time where you're not heavily focused on the intricacies of your money, not the times where you're worried about anything other than coming home to the family and strengthening yourself. Right, in the old ancient days, during these times, the fields were cold and covered in frost. And they would gather inside their homes. And they would tell stories about me. And they would tell stories about how I took down the other gods. And they would tell stories surrounding my word. Angels unknowingly would come in with these people and sup with them. Never know when you're sitting down with a legitimate angel from heaven. And it would bring me such gladness. It would bring me such enthusiasm that I, as Elohim, am enjoying the same thing you all are enjoying, but upstairs in my abode. And when I, have come to a soft heart, humble people, a contrite people, my imagination gets flowing for what I'm going to put down for them in provision the next year. What lands am I going to tame and open up for the following year? But that's at my discretion, not at humans' whims to go out and just bulldoze this fucking area because they need it or want it or feel like it. That wasn't your job. You do not provision yourself. I provision you. My peculiar people, my set-apart people, the Hebrews. Before they were Jews, they were Hebrews. Before they were Hebrews, they were slaves. They were slaves of all over Africa and the Middle East. And when they came together under my banner, the creator of all things, the sustainer of life itself, he who makes exist, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, Yahweh, that is who they draw strength from. That is I who they draw strength from. And I established Israel as my piece of land, as the anchorage point, the throat, the head of where the head of heaven, me, marries the earth plane, and all those nations that carry that banner know that they can come to my temple in Israel, and they will either be a contribution or they themselves will take a token. And if they take a token, then they too will have counsel from the Almighty, myself. They will have counsel with my Mashiach. They will have counsel with my 12 heads, my 12 heads on my 12 tribes. You're going to have access to not only the smartest people, not only the most powerful Elohim. You will have absolutely no excuses for your lands to be a shithole anymore. If you all truly desire the same thing, peace, harmony, stability, provision, providence, sovereignty, protection, defense, you will no longer need protection or defense from anything or anybody but me. Because if your country falls below the line, I will be sending in my help to help you get it back on track. If you deny my help, then you will not be there. It's not a hard concept. Because at the end of the day, you are all renters and I am the earth owner. And you know the world's upside down when I, as the Lord God Almighty, the sovereign Elohim on earth, am the renter from impious humanity. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do. So devil worshippers, go back to Iran, because I will send my Mashiach to Iran with my ultimatums. And if Iran decides to turn its turban the right way, stand up straight and go, you know what? We don't want war with you, Yahweh. We haven't even heard from Baal for over like 2,000 years or more. We play with little demon gods and jinn and think there's power there. I crush them. Anytime I want for those jinn or those demons to do my bidding, I can and I will. But even then, at the end of the day, that dog poop will be packed up in bags and sent out with the trash. Because my temple, my land, is to not have any mosques. My land is to be built at 36.7777. That is 333.7777. Those are my coordinates for my temple. 36.7777 north, 35.2355 east. So that's a fact. I say, Deuteronomy 20, verses 16 through 17. But with the towns of the people that Yahweh, the Lord your God, is giving you as an inheritance, do not leave anything alive that breathes. Completely destroy the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, as I, Yahweh, the Lord, has commanded you. Now, let's just imagine for a minute that right out of the rip, over 3,000 years ago, that would have been accomplished to my liking. Africa would have never been cursed. Africa would have been thriving. The Muslim conquest would have been dead in its tracks. It would have had no life to come up and continue to plant evil and seditious roots of evil. The world in itself would be at minimum 50% better than it is today, because instead of evil and wicked catalysts fueling more human bad behavior, I wouldn't have the wicked and evil catalyst. I would then just be dealing with normal human corruption. What's normal human corruption? When you're driving and somebody's a selfish prick and cuts you off, that's normal human corruption, right? The genuine hearts of humanity that's very selfish, right? You can tell a lot of, right, people in this day and age, they only care about themselves, and then they'll treat the world like shit, but then at the same time, in their same breath, then they'll complain about how bad the world is without even seeing that they are a contributor to the reason the world is such a shithole. So find the truth, find sanity, and find me, and you'll find your way out of this. If not, you're going to die in a great tribulation. Christian churches, you should have been phasing out this Easter, picking up the feast. Instead of having Bible study for New Testament nonsense, you should be going to the Old Testament Bible study about me, your Elohim. Instead of singing praise and worship music to Jesus, you should have been clearing all that out and putting forth music for Elohim. But Christians are doing the exact same thing you've always done, because your Christians are thinking, because I have not surged and killed you all through plague, through fire, through peril, that somehow you're out of this scot-free, and that's not the case. You are now taking my patience as acceptance, and that is a fault in you. dare I say, but most Christians that are like this, and you are staying in idolatry, you're staying in compromise to me, your Elohim, you're not going to see the new earth. You're not going to be elevated to heaven. Because you are choosing the falsity of your own mind, of your own heart, and you're choosing the safety in your numbers. To me as Elohim, your numbers mean nothing. The protection of your idols mean nothing. I am genuinely giving you time to repent and to come to the truth and to begin cleaning up your ways, cleaning up your activities. Again, I don't expect Christians to follow the food laws. That is a set-apart thing for my Jews and Israelites only. That brings them into the land of Israel. That brings them into personal, constant contact with me, Hashem. Those are things that the sons of the house will perform in the house. But the strangers in foreign lands are not expected to follow the house rules that closely, but you are expected to follow the land laws in which I provisioned you. So, the Philistines, who worship Dagon, who is a demon god, are your modern day Muslims. And year 636, so roughly 1388 years ago, that's when the term Palestine was actually invented by Greek. Isn't it amazing when you look at Greek and Roman things? It's a very literate culture, it's a very storytelling culture, and it's a culture that's what I mean. If you open the New Testament, you clearly see this as Roman and Greek influence based upon the stories of their existing gods. They just tried to pair that with the actual story of the living God, who is I, Yahweh, which is why it's an abomination. That is mixing the holy and the profane. That is denouncing me, the Father of all, in place of a man. There is no man greater than I as Yahweh Elohim, who is here, who is I. So, the modern day Palestine are nothing more than Dagon worshipping Philistines. Go elsewhere to worship Dagon, because your turn will come when my Mashiach, my Messiah, and if I never receive one, then fine, fuck all of you too, I'll go myself. I'm not hindered upon humanity in any way. But I am genuinely compassionate and I am understanding. Christians, you've been deceived for 400 years. That's not a long time. That is not a long time at all for me. That would be like my second bag of pears upstairs. That's a few honey harvests. You've been deceived for a little while. You're going to have to climb out of it and put your big boy and big girl pants on and start converting your Christian church to the truth. If you say, as a Christian church, we follow Yeshua, we follow the commandments, we pray, honor, and worship the one true God, Yahweh Elohim, Yahuwah, not Jehovah. If we're using the V, it's Yehovah. Yehovah. And I don't like that. These are all adaptations of human linguistics, because I have, again, worked with humanity since before you guys could talk. I was working with humanity, humanoids, before the Neanderthals. You guys have been a lot of work to get to where you're at now, right? It'd be like, as a father, closely parenting your children. Every day you're doing that homework. Every day you're doing that reading. Every day you're building their knowledge. You're building their righteousness. You're building your relationship. You're instructing. You're on duty 24/7. Only for them to hit 18. And everything you as a parent, you just put your heart, your love, your soul, your time, your effort, your energy, your resources into this person. For at 18, they say, thanks, Mom and Dad. Now I'm going to go out here and get pregnant. Now I'm going to go out here and do drugs. Now I'm going to go out here and party with a bunch of little demon humans. And all your work has been undone. How wrathful you as a parent, or how heartbroken are you as a parent? Truly, that's how this feels to me. Is I'm angry because I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken because you don't see the potential in which you truly are. Because the masses of the world have been, you guys haven't had a father. You guys have been Oliver Twisting this shit for over 2,000 years, and you've not even realized your punishment of my abstinence from you. Like, that would be that parent, that mother and father who, their 18-year-old who was raised in a perfect home, perfect schooling, perfect everything, and armed with all the knowledge and the resources and the ability and the sense everything to go off into the world and be successful, for that 18-year-old to shit all over your work and to start working his or her will abominably. And instead of you as the parent sitting back and going, well, I know as soon as they're hooked on drugs, they're going to hit rock bottom. But every time the human hits rock bottom, they just set up their new camp. And they just decorate it like it's great. That would be like, as the parent, looking at your 18-year-old who's strung out on drugs, but he's sitting in jail like, fuck yeah, I finally got back with my friends. And you're like, that's not how you should think, stupid. But there's no talking sense to that person anymore. Right? Because they have totally filled the house up with so much shit that it's become a second layer of floor. They don't even realize that under that layer of shit was a nice, beautiful hardwood floor. All this time they've been thinking the shit in which they're walking in was the floor. And that nasty smell is just the way it was built. I, as your father, am home and I'm trying to shovel out the shit and point to the wood floor and say, guys, if you keep shitting on the floor I'm cleaning, I'm gonna nuke you, I'm gonna burn you, I'm gonna have a day where I don't restrain myself any longer. Side note, I would even be open to keeping Muslims upon the creation if they go back to Iran, Saudi Arabia, go back to your own areas. Stop infiltrating other areas. Stop building up weapons for war and start building an empire that is worthy to be upon my creation. Because the righteous nations that choose me, that choose correctly, they will be erecting civilizations far beyond what you can even comprehend. I hate to break it to you. You guys are operating in some of the most impious capacities any God has ever known. You literally don't build things to last on purpose because you want to make more money off of a reoccurring customer that has to routinely buy a roof, routinely buy walls, routinely buy cars, routinely buy fences, routinely, because that is to you a source of money. No, instead of doing something right to last for eternity, you have all found money in extortion. Extortion is a crime against me, it is against heaven, it is against my angels, it is not prohibited on earth. Right now, the money systems, they exist only to appease you. Because it would be like this. As a family, you all go out into the field. Everyone's plowing side by side. At the end of the harvest, everyone is carrying baskets up to the house. There are some elders that have plowed for 10 years. They're past their plowing days. Now they are inside, tending to more simple things. But they eat the same as the helping hand who just brought a basket in, you see. He or she's paid their dues. Now the young will take care of the old. And the old will provide wisdom to the young. and instruction and institute righteousness in those generations. When the helping hands graduate to wisdom, they too will sit inside, not in the field, and they will be instructing their young in wisdom and righteousness, also known as the Old Testament or the Torah and the Tanakh. So, the Muslims still want to worship Dagon. I can remove Dagon from existence, put him in the abyss, and I can put in place over you an old god. If the Muslims want to stay with a primarily Arabian culture, I am okay with that. I encourage that. But that does not mean you need to impede upon Israel. That does not mean you need to send your agents into America to be elected through your propaganda. Does not mean I need my colleges in America or Israel or any damn where waving flags that are either not American or not Israeli. It's not happening. You as a country, as Iran, should be calling your chickens home. You should be telling them boys, get your asses out of here. Get out of America. That's not our country. That's not our business. That's not our politics. That's not our people. Palestinians, Hamas, stop settling near Israel. That's not our land. We all know it. It's not. The Fugazi's up. The big dog's home, and he's about to whip our asses and smote us. I will make Sodom and Gomorrah look like a fucking firecracker. And Hungary, Orban, whatever the hell your name is, if you want to be friends with my nation, America, you need to first become friends with Israel. So I suggest you stop calling for Palestine, number one. Number two, if you think that you're going to buy Russian oil and still be friends with me, you're out of your damn mind. If you want protections from your beloved NATO, then I suggest you abstain from any purchase of Russian. I wouldn't even buy a bottle of damn Smirnoff if I was any of you. I will lay down a great and mighty unbreakable curse to any and all nations that want to stand in defiance of my commandments, my righteousness, and the provision in which only I, as Yahweh Elohim, can provide. And last note, Christians following Yeshua is a humble, servant heart. Not glamorous, not superficial, not haughty, not being admired for getting my sheep. They are not your sheep. They are my sheep. Christians being admired for getting my sheep to salivate. Your Erica Kirks of the world, your Charlie Kirks of the world. You are in nowhere close to being in good order unto me, Yahweh Elohim. So, alright. I think that's about it for the day. So, Christian churches, you need to start getting it together. I'm about hopeless when it comes to the Catholic Church. I don't think I'm even going to be pursuing any road trying to rekindle that. They have no interest in doing right. They have no interest in telling the truth. They absolutely have no interest in obedience unto me. And if they don't understand the things in which I teach, that isn't my problem. That's their problem. Because let me tell you something. If you have 1,000 snakes, but only 250 of them are venomous, a human being standing in the snake pit is just as in danger as if it was 150 only venomous or 500 mixed. The danger level does not go down. So by trying to counter my word, counter my being, try to compromise with me, Elohim, you're breaking the rules, you're breaking commandment, you're breaking my sovereignty, and you're telling me, the creator of the world and creator of heaven, that if I were to put the earth on an axis different, per the human regard, that it would have been better. No, you all would have been burnt to a crisp. Or you would have frozen. If I would have provisioned something different for the birds, they would not have survived for millions of years as a species, now would they? If I would have provisioned something different from every animal upon the creation that I, hand by hand, have grown, including humans, I know what I'm talking about is what I'm trying to say. It may not be pleasing to the human ear. It may not be pleasing to humans that are man-worshipped, and you are made to feel higher than you are. I assure you, when your soul or your spirit is relieved from your flesh, it is but one Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, who is I, that sorts that. So, have a great Thursday. Christian Church, double time it. Get cleaned up.